body for volunteering in New South Wales. Grow communities and bring people together through volunteering.
Welcome to the Local Legends podcast, where we share stories of untold community spirit. Joining us today is Robyn Szoeke, OAM, who will be sharing her experience volunteering with Dress for Success Sydney. So welcome, Robyn, and thank you so much for joining us today. Could you please start with introducing yourself and tell us about how you got involved with Dress for Success?
Well, thank you, Charlie, for this wonderful opportunity. My name is Robyn Szoeke. I work for the accounting and consulting firm Deloitte, but I've also been a long-term volunteer with the charity Dress for Success Sydney. So Dress for Success, in case people don't know, is a global charity in cities all around the world, with the identical mission of providing women with the support and the tools they need to obtain employment and build financial independence for themselves and their families. And it's really focused, Charlie, on helping women thrive in both life and work. Some branches of Dress for Success will offer services to men, but in Sydney it's exclusive services to women, and they come from all walks of life. Sometimes we think that the people that need this service are some of the most disadvantaged in our community, and that is absolutely the case. But in many instances, it is women who have found themselves in very, very different circumstances to what they had envisaged. They may be going through the breakup of a marriage or a relationship. They may have lost a long-term job. And I am predicting that with the way the economic climate is at the moment, that a lot of women who may have been not needing to work in their family now have to enter the workforce to help them manage payment of their mortgages, the increasing cost of living, etc. So no matter how good we sometimes think times might be getting for the majority, there are always people in our community that need support and help. And Dress for Success does that in a very, very fundamental way.
That's fantastic. And it sounds like it's a great initiative to be part of. And it sounds like they're very passionate about it. How did that start? How did you find out about Dress for Success?
Well, it was a very, very modest fundraiser 13 years ago. It's made me think back, Charlie, preparing for this podcast with you. So it was back in 2010. A wonderful lady called Megan Etheridge founded the charity. She would say she did it around her kitchen table with other like-minded women, which is often, I think, how very successful things start in life. But I heard Megan talk just about the work that she hoped the charity would be able to achieve, the idea that whatever anyone could contribute by way of items out of their wardrobe or some of their professional skills, their time, and of course money, let's not forget that, would immediately go to helping a woman change her life. And even though it was in very, very modest circumstances in those days, touching, just a handful of women as clients, it really was a very, very compelling story, and one that I thought made a lot of sense to me. I like the notion that you can do something now and in the very near future that's going to make a difference to somebody's life. And that's what really, really appealed to me. And so I told Megan that I would be very interested in volunteering in the charity, and it didn't take long before I was on the board. And then when Megan stepped down as chair of the board, I succeeded her in that role. So I've been involved now for 13 years.
Fantastic. And so you would have seen the organisation grow over the years. What has your experience been with seeing that growth?
Yes, it's a good question. And I think that the need has been great over the years, but the charity has also diversified perhaps more than any other chapter in Australia, or in some cases across the world. So the fundamental service is about a referral agency recommending that one of their clients who is seeking work pass through Dress for Success on their way to interview, or perhaps they've already got the job, or they need some support with making their resume fit for purpose, perhaps some interview skills training. So all of those services were very easy to set up, I might say, in those early days with so many people willing to support. And then obviously there's been a transition over time to understanding that there are other pockets of the community where the need is great as well. So Megan was instrumental in getting Dress for Success access to the correctional institutions, women's prisons, and enabling women to actually take clothing in and to dress the inmates for a court appearance, for example, or for their release date. And you have to think that they're both pretty major events or milestone events in a prisoner's life, appearing in court, pitching before the judge, hoping that you'll be able to retain your children, reduce your sentence, etc. A lot of that depends on how you present. And obviously, some women only have to wear out of prison what they wore into prison when they were arrested. So being able to give them something that's, on trend and making them feel like they can enter the community again quite quickly is pretty important. The other thing that we did was identify that not every woman in New South Wales could actually make their way into the Marrickville showroom. So there was, it's called Style Delivered. In the old days, it was called Pack and Send. So referral agencies in rural and regional New South Wales would connect with Dress for Success. And if it was yourself, perhaps Charlie, and you might have been living in Ballina and you were seeking work, through your referral agency, they would send Dress for Success details about yourself, what you liked to wear, what type of job you were going through, etc. And you would fill out a form, and then we would have virtual stylists that would gather together all of the elements of a wardrobe or outfit that they thought would be useful for you, and they would package that up and courier it to you. And we used to get some amazing letters from women who had opened this box of goodies, especially curated for them. So that was very, very special. And now we have 3 branches. So we opened one in the Illawarra a number of years ago with a very, very committed volunteer, Nikki Bowman. That was her baby. And we have a branch in Newcastle. I have seen Dress for Success go from, very, very small beginnings to being such a well-recognised brand in New South Wales with a reach that was probably far exceeded anything we could all imagine at the time.
That's awesome. And it sounds like it would be really rewarding. It sounds like it makes you happy, I think I'm hearing. And can you tell me a bit more about what have you enjoyed about the different roles that you've personally had with the Dress for Success?
I've really enjoyed meeting a lot of other people, Charlie. I'll speak about the other volunteers first because there are very layers and layers of people that form my community at Dress for Success. I think the other volunteers are absolutely outstanding. I've met some exceptional women who give up much more of their time than I do. Some women are retired and take on very, very meaningful roles in Dress for Success on a daily and weekly basis. And I just love those people. They're so committed. They're so passionate about what they do. And many of them are engaging with clients all the time. They are doing the dressing and the styling and the training and the nurturing, which is really wonderful. We have a lot of women who are using other skills, may not necessarily have time to physically be at Marrickville, but are there in the background sharing their leadership skills, their marketing, their fundraising capabilities, connecting with their networks, making sure that, as I said earlier, the brand is well known and well represented in Sydney in particular. And then I think the other thing that's so important is our clients. They are very, very inspiring women, many of them very, very courageous, very resilient. And, when you do get the opportunity to be with them one-on-one and helping them, reshape an element of their life, that is exceptional. I always say that it's not without me getting something back because I do love clothes, I love fashion, I love seeing people be the best version of themselves that they can be. Not that clothes are everything, we don't mean that at all, but it is interesting, Charlie, that when I was on the board, we had a couple of associate professors from Sydney University do a research paper for us, and they coined a phrase called lookism. So it was the discrimination that everybody suffers by, that subconscious bias people have of making an immediate judgment on you based on how you look and what you're wearing. And our mandate was not to change that, because that takes a long time to change people's subconscious bias, what we set out to do was that our clients, the women that we were dressing and preparing for work, could avoid that bias. So when somebody had been through Dress for Success and presented for interview, they were going to look like the recruiter or the interviewer expected them to look. So immediately they can look past that bias and they can start to identify what are the skills and talents of this person? What experience do they have? How committed would they be as an employee for this role? So we've kept very much to that. We think that styling and dressing a woman is absolutely critical to her self-confidence, but in no way do we want to overshadow any of the other attributes that she needs to be successful in her work.
Absolutely.
So that's a long-winded way of saying there's layers and layers of enjoyment that I get from my commitment to Dress for Success.
Yeah, it's fantastic. And it sounds, yeah, like you're doing so much amazing work in the community. In terms of styling a person, what is that experience like when someone comes to Dress for Success and they're looking for support getting styled?
So the person will come generally through a referral agency, Charlie. So they're already a job seeker, and we find a little bit of information about them. What's really important, obviously, is what is the job that they're going for, so that the stylist, who's a volunteer, can start to think or curate what an appropriate outfit would look like. The woman has an appointment, so it's a one-on-one pre-arranged appointment. She arrives at the showroom or the boutique, as some people call it, and she's introduced to her stylist, fills in a little bit of very basic information in advance just to make sure that everyone's on the same page. And then the next hour is really the volunteer stylist bringing her different outfits that she can try or not try, depending on whether or not she's comfortable in some of the options. But it's a pretty exciting time, actually. As you can imagine, it's like being in a big department store. There's beautiful change rooms. The volunteer stylists are exceptional women who are very, very good at what they do, right down to, if somebody needs underwear, or there's no limit to what they can receive. They generally, for interview, get one outfit that's specifically styled for the interview, and that would be top to toe, shoes, handbag, outfit, jewelry, if that's what the person needs. And yeah, that's all packaged up for them, and they generally leave with a very, very big smile on their face, which is fantastic. And if they get the job, Charlie, then they come back and they get 5 outfits, and those outfits are usually selected so they're all mix and match, so that the woman doesn't need to spend her first week or month salary on how she needs to dress for work. Generally, as we all know, if you get sort of 5 really good outfits with lots of options, that can last you for many, many weeks. And yes, at the end of that second session, they're even more excited. Everything is completely free. Nobody is asked to pay for anything. They don't need to return anything. Some do. Some love to give back what was special for them and say, now this can go to another woman, but we certainly don't expect that at all. It's for them to keep, and many of them are very, very overwhelmed and surprised. There's often a lot of tears. It can be very, very emotional. A lot of women see themselves in a new light, and I've had women look in the mirror dressed absolutely beautifully saying, gosh, now I remember who I used to be. What is interesting is sometimes you'll say to somebody, what size are you? And they'll go, I don't know. I can't remember the last time I bought myself anything. I live in my tracksuit, or the only things I buy are for my children. I never buy anything for myself. So sometimes you have to start right from scratch. And yeah, quite often you do have to really challenge some of the women to, I think a little bit differently about how fabulous they could look if they just tried something on. Sometimes they're a little bit cautious about that. And there are women from all different ethnic backgrounds. So there are some women who really want, a long skirt. They want to be able to wear their headscarf. They don't want to show any, sort of flesh or anything. That's fine. They're all taken care of. We have some transgender clients, so that the stylists will find, appropriate items for different shapes and sizes and ages, and obviously very much targeted at what is the job that the person's going for. So the experience, I think, for our clients is sometimes very overwhelming, but they're, full of gratitude.
Great. And it sounds like there's a strong commitment to inclusion and, having a smaller wardrobe that you can mix and match. That's very sustainable. That's if everyone did that, we could all learn from that, which is fantastic. Has there been, I'm sure there are lots of stories, but was there an aha moment when, you felt that you were making a difference, that this is what you wanted to do?
Yeah, look, I think we sometimes, Sydney women are very, very generous in donating items out of their wardrobe, Charlie, and sometimes we will have brands or retailers that will have stock that they send us that is new with tags. So a lot of generosity in that regard, to the point sometimes where it can be a little bit overwhelming. As you would imagine, a lot of charities receive more than they need for that particular purpose. So what we do is we give to our clients as a priority and put on the racks for the clients the things that are most appropriate for them. And then we categorize other donations into, sometimes we get lovely designer pieces and high-end items, and they go off to our large fundraising fashion sales. But before COVID, we used to have what was called a garage or a community sale on the first Saturday of every month. And we had so much clothing at that time that we would have women who would buy a plastic bag, a garbage bag for $5, and they could fill that completely with whatever they could find, and everything was just set out by size, and people would fossick around their size and fill their bag, and it was wonderful to watch. It really was. But one lady came up to me one day and her bag was breaking, and it wasn't because she'd put too much in it. I mean, the bags were never that particularly strong, and she told me that she needed to go to the train station, which was probably about a 10-minute walk, and did I have another bag that I could put everything into for her that would make the journey, so to speak, because this one wasn't going to. So I found a couple of other small bags and we packed them up, and I thanked her very, very much for coming. And she said, that she'd wanted to come on many other prior occasions, but she hadn't been able to. So I immediately assumed that, she either had taken her kids to sport or had some other Saturday morning activity. And so I said, what's held you up from coming before? And she told me then in that moment that she'd never had the $5 that she could spare to buy the bag. And that was a very sobering moment for me, because I think most of us, think of $5 as what our next cup of takeaway coffee might be, or something that's probably relatively insignificant in our lives. But for her, this was an amazing way for her to be able to come and spend that money that was very precious to her. So yes, I like to feel that we need to have those life lessons every now and then, Charlie. We need to be reminded of how difficult life is for a lot of people and the efforts that they're making to help sustain themselves and their families. So that was my aha moment. I've been telling that one for a long time, but I haven't had one that beat that yet.
Yeah, that's a great story, and
it's very moving.
Definitely. And one of those learning experiences have you found that Dress for Success has taught you things in your personal or your work life in that kind of way?
Yes, I think we're always learning in life, but volunteering, I think, brings with it a lot of opportunities to learn things that you otherwise may not have had the chance to do. So I think I have learned, and working with other volunteers is in itself a bit of a lesson on life, because everyone comes from a different walk of life. It's not like you're employed by the same company and everyone's got their set job to do and you get a pay packet at the end of the week or the month. I mean, volunteering is different to that. So I think it has built for me a level of patience about how people come to do things, the different ways, the different methods, the different personalities. So I've learnt a lot of patience, I think, and a lot of skills on how to connect with people who I might not normally have connected with in life. I think that I have learnt how generous people are. And that is amazing to see the extent to which some people will go to give up their time and their expertise. And some of these are women, Charlie, who have got, very, very comfortable homes, comfortable lives. They're in retirement. They could be doing anything. They could be traveling the world if they chose to, but many of them, week in, week out, come to Dress for Success and sort pre-loved clothes and, dress women, that may be entering or re-entering the workforce. And I'm just inspired by their generosity. I love the resilience and the courage of the women that we work with. I think I've learnt a lot about just how much helping one woman can filter out into her family and into the community. I think we don't recognise that enough as a society. That there is, the mother is really such a strong connector to her family. And if the mother is strong and can be feeling worthy and independent, then I think that flows right through down to the kids. And we hear that story really often. I love it when a woman gets a job. I think that's exciting when a woman comes back for her 5 outfits. That's a big tick for success. We've been successful, she's been successful, and I think that's something that I have really learnt to really appreciate what that means for other people. I'm very grateful for the contribution I can make. I love what I do, and I love that there's a place that I can go that accepts me for who I am and helps me, give the little bit that I can give. That's my learnings, I think.
Fantastic. And then it sounds like you've given a lot to Dress for Success, a lot of time and effort and emotional investment, I'm hearing. How is that, as well as working, how have you been able to manage that work-life volunteering balance?
Well, I think I work for an amazing organisation, Deloitte. I've been with Deloitte now 20 years. So for 13 of those years, I've been, balancing my working life with my volunteer life. And volunteering, you can choose to do as little or as much as you would like, which is one thing I would say to people who are thinking of volunteering. You don't have to throw yourself in the deep end and do 10 hours a week if that doesn't suit you. So I have been very, very grateful that Deloitte is an organisation that really encourages us all to make an impact that matters on community. It has a strong acknowledgement of the value of volunteering, so we all get volunteering leave throughout the year. My colleagues love to hear what I do, and many of them have joined me on the journey at Dress for Success as well. So I think that's lovely that you can be seen as a bit of a role model, particularly to a lot of the younger women in the organisation in which I work. I think the other thing that helps with the work life or work volunteering balance is that Dress for Success has activities from Monday through to Saturday, depending on what you want to do or how much time you have to spare. So I think that suits people from all different walks of life, whether you're retired or whether you're working full-time or part-time. There's usually a roster or a particular activity that you can get involved in that's actually going to suit your lifestyle and suit the time that you have available. So our big fashion sales that we run, fundraising fashion sales that we run those over 4 or 5 weekends a year, the high-end ones. Others are run on different weekends. So that's yet another opportunity for people and for myself. If I haven't got anything else to do on a Sunday, well, I might as well be helping out with one of those activities. And I've got great family support. My husband is often on a mission that I give him to go and do something for Dress for Success. Just today, actually, we had a very, very generous offer from a brand that had a warehouse sale over the weekend, and they hadn't sold everything and they wanted to donate items to Dress for Success. So he hired a van this morning and he went off 9:30 this morning. He collected 44 boxes of clothing, brand new clothing with tags, and now they are all in our garage at home. So that makes it easy when the people around you, Charlie, share your passion and accept that, this is what you've chosen to do with your spare time. So it's a mix of a whole lot of stuff, and I'm very grateful to everyone for it.
That's great. And it's great that you have that support. And I'm sure it's one of those cases where certain people, attract certain people who like the same things and who are passionate. So I'm sure that's also come from you as well.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I think yeah, if you like doing what you do, that's easy to talk about it, isn't it?
Yeah, and that's fantastic. And I think it's a great thing to see is, you can enjoy your work life and you can enjoy volunteering and have those great supports. It's fantastic. What would you say to someone who is interested in getting involved in Dress for Success? How can someone get involved?
The first thing I would say to somebody is choose a charity that you're passionate about, Charlie, because I think that's when it brings out the best in yourself and you give as best as you possibly can. So anyone who wants to get involved in Dress for Success, I'd say reflect on what it is that you think the charity needs from you. What are you prepared to give? Is it time? Is it skills? Is it experience? Because there are a myriad of ways in which you can become engaged. And then I'd really ask people to think, well, how much time do I want to give to this? Do I want to give a couple of hours a week or a few hours a month, so that you're really making sure that you don't overreach? I think, some of us are very good at thinking that we can do more than we can do, but I think it's really good to have a good solid start to assess what it is that you're passionate about, how much time can you give, what is it that you enjoy doing, and then yes, connect with Dress for Success. There are induction sessions every couple of months where you join other like-minded people, have a very, very good information session, understand all the opportunities for volunteering, or just, simply even people are welcome to connect with me. I'd be very happy with that, Charlie, to hear what they would like to do. Sometimes there are board opportunities for people who are seeking board experience or board roles or are experienced board members and want to give in a different capacity. Yes, so there are lots of ways to do it. And, I can't finish this podcast without saying that if you can't give your time, but you can give your money, then that is a very, very wonderful thing to be able to do, because charities nowadays, I think post-COVID, are really finding fundraising particularly tough. People don't go to work 5 days a week like they used to. It's not easy to hold fundraising activities in the workplace. It's not easy to get people engaged in employee giving. But I do feel that if people can afford to donate money as well as time, then that's something that they should think about doing.
Awesome. Great advice. And I think great insights as well to think about ways people can get involved even if they don't have the time to volunteer. Thank you so much for sharing that. And thank you for such a insightful and encouraging conversation and sharing your story on the Local Legends podcast here today. Was there anything else that you wanted to say before we sign off today?
I'd just really like to thank you, Charlie, and Volunteering New South Wales. I think you do an amazing job. I don't think anyone ever volunteers because they want recognition, but when you do get recognition and acknowledgement, it is very, very lovely, very sweet, and it's something that makes you just puff your chest out a little bit and realize that the little difference that you're making is valued. So we appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Awesome. Fantastic. Thank you for sharing that. For anyone looking to get involved with Dress for Success, they can reach out at sydney.dressforsuccess.org or contact the Centre for Volunteering at 926 13600 for more volunteering opportunities.
You've been listening to Voices of Volunteering, presented by the Centre for Volunteering. For resources, tools, training and news, head over to our website volunteering.com.au.